they ratified or voted on in the general conference in January. But over the next couple of weeks, you will have people that will slowly, as they obviously put their affairs in order. Some will need to give notice to their employees. Others, it's just a matter of notifying family and friends and putting other things in place. But we will start to have candidates declaring their intentions to contest elections with the PPM in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And this will continue right on. And by the time we get to our conference in mid to late January, it'll become quite obvious who our candidates will be. And we will be ready to go as a unified group, as we always are. We, at the end of the last election, all of the incumbent progressive members that contested election, we won our seats. So, myself, Ms. Barbara Connolly, Mr. David White, Mr. Mose Colonel, Mr. Roy McTaggart, Sir Alden McLaughlin, we and the now Premier Juliana O'Connor Connolly were all members of the PPM, and we were all returned during the elections. We also had a member of our alliance, as we called it back then, Dwayne John Seymour, was also returned. And then we had other loosely affiliated persons that as it turned out, we could not rely on. And it is very obvious in what has happened and what has transpired over the last 3.5 to 4 years, that those sorts of loose alliances come with all other sorts of caveats and other hidden agendas and hidden connections to each other and to individuals that are not clear. When we come forward as a party, it is very clear who we are. It's very clear what our structure is. And when we publish our manifesto, it's going to be very clear what our policies will be. And I think that is organized politics. I think that is, as even before getting involved in politics, that is what I preferred to have, rather than looking at individuals and listening to individual policies, knowing within yourself that one person can't do it alone. You want to look for an organization that best represents you, that best suits you. And to take it even further, if you join the organization, then you can also have your voice heard within the organization as well. So, these are the reasons that I, in particular, support organized politics. I was on a live podcast on Monday night, which is I'll give some details about it later, because they will air the episode again. But it was the podcast was live down at the Hive on West Bay Road, and it was targeting the younger voters, trying to encourage them to get involved in politics and to register to vote. They had registration forms there at the event, and the whole idea and the basis of the podcast was to promote voter registration and involvement and education for younger persons with our local form of politics. And I was explaining there, OC, that parties have gotten a bad rap over the years for various reasons. And then now over the last 8 years, 12 years, all guns are aiming at the progressives, at the PPM, because we're the one party. So it's not even that we have a second party in the country to share that. But what has happened recently, quite frankly, is that people are looking at it as the PPM and the independents, right? And they're starting to clump the independents into almost as if you're speaking about the independents like they're a party. But they're a group of individuals that come together after an election to try and create policy and ethos and all that other stuff. So I said to them, what is a PPM? What is a party? Can you imagine the English Premier League? Can you imagine what the English Premier League would be like if, just once a year a group of guys showed up and everybody got together and made up a name and tried to do try to compete in the league? Would it be that popular? Where would you get your fan base? Who would come to the stadium? You know, what form of play, what style of play would you have? Who would be your coach? Where's your management team? All of these things, right? It requires that structure, right? And that is how the Premier League has been built over the decades, where you have teams like your Manchester Uniteds, your Chelseas, your Liverpools, your Tottenham. You know, it is a structure that people can say, listen, I like their style of play. I like their coach. I like the way the management operates. I like how they, how they treat their fans. I like how they treat their players. All of these things are incorporated into why somebody decides to wear, on an everyday basis, a team's jersey to show that they support the team, right? So, the NBA, how would it be if the NBA was just once a year a group of guys showed up to play basketball? It's the same thing, right? I even took it a step further and said, when you go to work, if you're going to go work for a company, you're taking a risk. You already have a job, but someone says that they're going to head and offer you a job. You're going to go and try and speak to a couple of people that work there to say, what environment like there? What are the policies? What's the ethos of the company? What is the boss like? You need to find out, can I work with him? Oh, the boss likes to scream at people and this. Okay, no, that's not the environment for me, right? So, and what kind of work am I going to be doing, So these are the sorts of questions that you ask with those opportunities. And that's the way we look at politics as well as organized politics, is that you look and say, okay, this best suits my views, my visions. Their ethos, speaks to me. I think I don't like every single person in the party. You can have your fit team. You don't like every player on the team either, but you like the team because you understand that the team works, right? So, as football fans, we are diehard for our team, but we get aggravated with certain players. I don't know why they should sell him, and it's no different in politics. It really is no different in organized politics.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with the Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Joey Hew, will continue. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Honorable Joey Hew, Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Hew, during the course of our discussion this morning as well, you spoke about the how a candidate is introduced as far as the progressive, the PPM is concerned, how they're chosen and everything. You spoke about manifesto. You mentioned manifesto. It might be a little bit too early to talk about manifesto because I'm not sure exactly how that is developed. If you have to wait until you have decided which candidates or those who will be candidates, because I'm sure their input would be needed as well, because they may have ideas that they may want to progress and to do that as well. But from your point of view as the leader of the party, some of the issues that you believe that need addressing as soon as possible, that they're the determinant as to whether or not the Cayman Islands progress, whether or not we regress in the next coming years as well. So at some point in time, if you could talk about some of those issues that you as the leader, we may not necessarily see them in the manifesto, but some of the challenges that we in the Cayman Islands face, but not only the challenges, but the opportunities as well, because we need to really look at both sides of the coin.
Yeah. OC, with having prior to this administration, having been a part of the government for the 8 years prior to that, we have been in a position, whilst in opposition, to follow where we left off and to track the progress or lack of progress within those areas. And certainly the difference between 2013 to 2021, post-COVID, those are certainly different times. These are certainly different times. So we've had that opportunity to see what were the successes of our terms, what were the results, positive results, unintended consequences, and how have things changed since then. So we see things like the rapid growth in the population that didn't keep pace, or the increase in the GDP hasn't kept pace with the growth in the population. We have seen the continued crisis, or housing crisis as we would call it, the continuation of that. Over the years, we've brought several motions to try and support or to deal with the housing crisis. The government themselves can't build their way out of it. That's impossible. When you're building 100, 120 homes a year, if you can, in 4-year period, if you can get that done, you have a waiting list of 700 people. There has to be other ways to do this. You have to incentivize otherwise to get the private sector involved. And of course, your national development plan has a huge part to do with that, because that is the foundation. That is where you control what types of homes can be built, what can they be used for. And we continue to go back to things like, what are the reasonings behind the housing shortage? And it has been the increase in population through various reasons. You had the financial services legislation, the EU's legislation on where you had to have a presence locally. It'll come to me as I talk about it.
Oh, yes.
The economic, you had to have an economic presence in the country
in
that
the
you were domiciled. And I think many thought that would be the end of Cayman's financial services, but the result of that was that persons decided, okay, fine, we will open offices in the Cayman Islands. And so you had a massive increase or influx of individuals in the financial services looking for housing, looking for classroom space, et cetera, et cetera. And then you also had the advent of and the growth of Airbnb and those types of accommodations where private sector citizens would participate in buying a second home or a third home and putting those in the Airbnb market and bettering themselves. But what we have to do, what will happen with the national development plan, when you review that, you'll have to put zones in to exclude things such as Airbnb, tourism activities, and that sort of stuff, so that whomever goes to build there understands that this is going to be built within a particular category for a particular reason. So those are the important parts of it. So housing, cost of living, OC, and that's a broad, the economy and cost of living. I spoke about how the pie has gotten a little bigger, the growth in GDP, but with the population growth, you're actually getting a smaller slice, because now the pie is being divided up by that many more people. So the economy, the cost of living, quality of life for me is huge. I think, you know, we as Caymanians and residents are starting to feel the effects of the traffic,
Yes.
and the lack of a proper public transportation system, the landfill, the cost of goods, basic goods in the supermarkets, the cost of utilities. Insurance is a massive issue that requires immediate attention. And all of these are not necessarily unique to Cayman. A lot of these are global issues that countries all over the world are grappling with. But we cannot wait for anyone else to give us a solution. We have to find our own solution that works and helps our own people. So with that, crime, I think, you know, continues to be on the forefront of everyone's minds. We certainly have always been a supporter of the uniformed branches. We created the Coast Guard. We spearheaded the amalgamation of immigration and customs into customs and border control. So these were all efforts we've made in the past, and we will always continue to support our uniformed services and RCIPS in the fight against crime. But we have to take it a step further as well. We have to be more meaningful in finding ways to prevent our people from choosing a life of crime. So that early intervention, that has, you know, we give it a lot of lip service, but we have to make meaningful efforts and advances in how do we find these young persons that will choose a life of crime and give them an opportunity to do something differently. And even if they do find themselves in problems, not just incarcerate them, but find a way to rehabilitate them. Give them an opportunity, literally become that mentor for them. Give them an opportunity to make a decision. A lot of these young persons sometimes don't have that opportunity to choose between the two, or they don't have that individual that will guide them in saying, don't do that, you know, let's take this road. This is let's set the path out for you. This is where you go. You get some employment. You work for a year. You may find even better employment. We'll assist you with housing until you can get on your feet, and then we will assist you then in finding your accommodations, etc. So an agency that actually walks the journey with these individuals and allowing them to access that sort of help. So, you know, continuing on with education obviously is always a huge. I know Miss Barbara, if she was here, she obviously Miss Barbara Conley was planning to come this morning, but she has lost her voice as well. Oh, wow. So these are some of the top issues that we will be dealing with. To speak to the manifesto and how we do that, we have continued, as I said, to build our manifesto over the last 3.5 years. We will then, once as soon as we get our candidates on board, we start to talk about the umbrella, and we will be releasing our 4 key points that there'll be many points within the manifesto, but the 4 main points that we'll be focusing on. We will then work on it as a team. I was explaining to someone the other day that what will happen is that we'll come in as a group and we'll talk about housing and real estate, and we'll put a little group together to have them go out and do some research and come back and say, this is what we're hearing, this is what we see, this is what people are feeling. Then we progress on to put that into a document, and that document continues to change and change and change. And we will have the overarching headlines of the headlines of the manifesto will then be presented to the conference to be adopted and then turned into a manifesto.
Okay. We're going to go to our headline news. When we return from our headline news, I want to talk a little bit about the recent announcements that the Premier has made in relation to bonuses for civil servants. Of course, the 5% increase in salary. As well, we know that while in the opposition, that the progressives have called on increases in certain areas in terms of social spending, and for those persons who are the beneficiaries of assistance from the government. In the past, some people have viewed the progressives as being extremely conservative and looking more at the bottom line in terms of what the country has achieved, how much savings, and what will be the party's position. What is your position in relation to social spending, and how do we change that concept? You spoke about young people, getting them away from crime, getting them a job. That all ties into, from my viewpoint, into immigration policy. And we have the data points, for that, as well as far as immigration policy is concerned. We see more and more jobs coming online, but we do not necessarily see the reduction in the unemployed Caymanians that should be commensurate with the increase in employment opportunities in the Cayman Islands. And talk a little bit about that. Folks, don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after headline news.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. The trial of a police officer charged with misconduct in public office is expected to resume today. Karen Watson is accused of using official police resources to investigate a woman involved with a man she was seeing. In international headlines, the U.S. and several other Western embassies in Kiev said they would stay closed today for security reasons, with the American delegation saying it had received a warning of a potentially significant Russian air attack on the Ukrainian capital. The precautionary step came after Russian officials promised a response to President Joe Biden's decision to let Ukraine strike targets on Russian soil with U.S.-made missiles, a move that angered the Kremlin. In the U.S., Target etched out a slim sales increase in the third quarter and profits slumped as inflation-weary customers pulled back on spending, and the costs related to a dock worker strike in October dragged on the results. The Minneapolis retailer fell short of Wall Street expectations for the quarter, and its outlook for the final 3 months of the year also disappointed industry analysts, in an environment in which Americans are still spending but being more selective. The weak quarterly performance is of concern because Target has cut prices on holiday goods, including a Thanksgiving deal that put the cost of the holiday meal below where it was last year. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Joey Hugh. Mr. Hugh has to leave us around about 9:30. I know I'm throwing a lot at him at the same time, and we haven't even gotten an opportunity to talk about the issue of beneficial ownership. But Mr. Hugh, I'm going to throw the mic over to you. You take it in the direction that you want to go.
Thank you, O.C. Yeah, I think without delving too deep into it, and you know, we certainly felt over, you know, the time frame that we were in government, that those who are in permanent financial assistance and those pensioners who were not in the system, government pensioners that were not in the system long enough to actually develop a real pension, we have always felt that we needed to increase those. And what we did was increase those over each year. We would increase it by a bit. Now, when we took off, it was around $50, if I'm not mistaken. It's now we took it to $9.50. I think the current government has taken it up to $11.50. However, we were still campaigning for the civil service pensioners who are, I think, are still somewhere around the $7.50 or $8.50 marker. Because if we look at what the needs assessment unit or the poor relief laws say, that if you're earning as a household less than $3,000, you're below. You can assume then they're below the poverty line. Therefore, if our pensioners are only receiving $750, and on a larger scale, those who are in our pension schemes that are getting a maximum of $1,250 a month, we have to do something about that. If we are saying as a country that you need $3,000 as a household to survive, and I don't know if the data has backed that up recently, but as a household, if you have to have $3,000 to survive, how are we expecting persons to survive on $1,200 of pension or even less than that? So that's something that we all have to bear in mind when we start to cast assertions that, oh, you're, just giving away money, or this is the case. When you go out there and meet these individuals and see the way that they have to live, even something as you learn as you go, OC, it's so easy to sit in our comfortable homes, sit in our comfortable lounges, dinner tables, restaurants, wherever, and talk about people like we know. Like we know what they're going through, like we know the struggles. One that just blew me away was this whole numbers thing. I've spoken to 70-odd-year-old ladies that say that's the only way I can survive. I have my little thing that I put a little $5, and I win a $75, and that covers my water bill and my cell phone. It's crazy to think that someone, feels that they have to rely on winning a small lottery at least once a week in order to make ends meet. But it's easy for us to cast assertions from where we sit until we go and see and understand what persons are going through. And every single person, not every person, is out there on the street, drunk on the side of the road, or using drugs. No, that is just a visible minority. But that is who we focus on. What we're not focusing on is our elderly. Those who are still struggling. They did everything the country asked for them. Some are unrecognized heroes. They worked hard all their lives, and yet they're struggling to make ends meet. Their pension can't keep up with the increase in CUC rates. Their pension can't keep up with the increase in water. One broken water pipe can put them into a negative for months. It takes nothing for $1,500 of water to disappear.
Yep.
By the time they find out, who's there to help them with that? How do they cover that plus all their usual bills with the $1,200 a month or less? So, before we cast judgment on persons, before we sit in our comfortable cars or chairs, even those of us that are struggling to make ends meet. We might be able to save 100 here or 200 there. We're still so much better off. So much better off than those that we drive by with our windows up and the little roads that we don't turn into. Or even, I'm sad to say it now as a Caymanian, even those of us who don't check on our neighbors. Drive by them every day. We're tired. We're stressed. We have our own issues. And we go straight home. We go into our house, turn on the AC, put on our favorite show or cook dinner or whatever the case may be. And we don't even know what's happening with our neighbors down the street.
So true.
So we will always be advocates for taking care of our elderly. We'll always be advocates for those who are most vulnerable in our society, and we shall not apologize for that. So we got pretty deep there. We'll see that
No,
is. I just want to touch on the obviously you raised the issue of the beneficial ownership, and it is a topic that's headlines across the UK and Cayman, and I'm sure other overseas territories as well. And we saw a lot of developments this week. We've seen where the UK government has said that they do not intend to force beneficial ownership register on their overseas territories. They see it as colonialism, which is absolutely correct.
Yep.
But I think it's deeper than that. I think when you're campaigning, you can go out there and say a lot of things.
Yeah.